The country's ongoing energy crisis and weak economic growth are expected to be top on the agenda of President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address this coming Thursday, and Newzroom Afrika's political team will have that covered for you wall to wall. Professor Zwelinzima Ndevu, Director of the School of Public Leadership, joins us to discuss SONA ahead of that address come Thursday. Prof, I think to start with, I'd love for you to help me understand when is it that State of the Nation went from being an assessment of the actual state of the nation into a shopping list of promises, many of them quite whimsical if you do the assessment 1 year on.
I think what we have seen, previously State of the Nation used to set the tone for what government will be doing over that particular financial year. And over time, we have seen that as becoming a shopping list of things that government wish to do, but never gets to any of them. And every year, South Africans are looking forward to hear what government will be doing in that particular financial year and what is realistic and what is not realistic in terms of government plans. So it is a session that sets a tone for what government will be doing, but unfortunately, in more cases than not, it is just a wish list or a wish list for government that does not get delivered at all.
It is closely watched, though, and I understand that people across various sectors will be looking at the topics the President emphasizes in order to try and gauge where government is going moving forward. Key to that, obviously, is going to be the power crunch, the Eskom energy crisis. Are you expecting him to deal with the NERSA tariff hike of 18.65% and his encouragement for that to just stall for now? What do you expect on that front?
Yes, certainly Eskom would be a big issue that the President would have to address, and central to that might be the issue of NERSA, the increase that has been approved recently. Because you would remember that we have rolling blackouts that there is no end in sight, but we see this regulatory body approving such a ridiculous increase in the tariffs for Eskom. So one asks the question as to whether a government in its right mind would not deliver services but expect citizens to pay more. And the President has issued a statement saying he has requested Eskom and NERSA to review this particular decision. So one is expecting the President to give a concretive answer as to what would be done going forward with this particular issue, but also with these rolling blackouts, which there is no end in sight, and seem like government is also lost. They have got no plan to deal with this particular issue.
So you're the director of the School of Public Leadership. In terms of the President's performance as leader of the country when it comes to the power crisis, how do you think he's fared?
I think the President has been missing in action when it comes to the issue of the power cuts or this rolling blackout. We know that he decided to cancel his trip to Darfur, but that was not enough. That he has cancelled that trip, but we want to see concrete actions. One expected the President to take the country in his confidence, engage with citizens around the plans that government have to deal with this particular issue, and we're seeing him not saying anything. We're expecting that this week, when he addressed the nation in the State of the Nation, he will come up with concrete plans, with timelines to give leadership in this particular issue. Failure to do that, it would mean that his leadership has failed to give leadership in this particular issue.
Concrete plans and timelines, a pithy point there. Do you anticipate that he will be announcing a state of disaster on electricity? And if so, what would he need to add to that to give it substance?
I hear these rumors says that he would be announcing a state of disaster in terms of the electricity. But one is asking a question, do we need really to announce a state of disaster, or do we need to come up with a plan? Do we need to put competent people in positions to deal with this crisis that we're experiencing? By the way, it is a crisis that has been a man-made crisis because the ANC government or the government did not take heed of many calls around dealing with this issue of maintenance and all of that. So I think for me, that should be the last resolution, the issue of state of disaster, once we have dealt with all other options. And I don't think we're at that stage.
So in 2021, in his SONA, he raised an unemployment rate of 30.8%. We've hemorrhaged jobs during COVID and the national lockdown for it, some 2 million, I believe it is. And unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, is an ongoing blight in South Africa. What are you expecting him to say on that?
I think that is linked to the issue of unemployment is linked to economic growth. And that is one of the pandemic that we're experiencing as a country, that our economy is not growing as it should. As a result of that, many jobs are lost that currently also people holding jobs. And as you rightfully said, there are many young people that are unemployed. So one expect the president to come with concrete plans to support SMMEs who are going to be able to create jobs. And also how to attract foreign direct investment to the country, which should also help in issues of dealing with infrastructure, which indirectly would also create jobs. So one is expecting the president to give us concrete plans around that as well. But I would love to see a program of action that the president will talk about for only that financial year, for this financial year, and say these are the jobs we are going to create, how we are going to go about creating those jobs, and how we are going to ensure that we maintain these jobs going forward to grow our economy, to ensure many of our people have jobs, and that would also contribute to many people being economic active within the country.
That segues really nicely into my question on the relief of social distress grant, that 350 Rand grant introduced during lockdown and the COVID pandemic, or at least round one of it. Do you expect him to announce another renewal of it during SONA 2023?
I am hoping that he does not announce another, because we would know that this is a short-term solution to the current crisis that we have, the economic crisis. So if we prolong without coming with other interventions that are more sustainable, then we might have this as a chronic issue within the country. So I'm hoping that he would give timelines. He might not stop it right immediately. He might say in the next 3 months we'll stop that and cushion people with more jobs being created and so forth and so forth. But this cannot be a permanent solution to a country's problems, especially unemployment.
I have heard the likes of Advocate Tembeka and Lukai Tobi criticize the president for his inaction on land. Land, obviously a key issue in South Africa and a place where transformation and economic empowerment can occur if there is political will on the part of the state. I believe it was last SONA that the president promised to finalize the transfer of some 14,000 hectares of public land to the Housing Development Agency. What's your assessment of his leadership or lack thereof on land and housing for people?
I think we are seeing lack of implementation, and the president must take some blame in that, because I think there is no monitoring of whether these plans are implemented. This is becoming a big challenge in the country. People are impatient, and we don't want to see situations where we've seen in other countries where people have become impatient with the government, and as a result of that are taking the law into their own hands. So we're hoping that the president would reflect on this, admit that the targets that they've set for themselves, they've not met them, but what will they do going forward to ensure that they address this matter urgently? Many other political parties, such as the EFF and others, are using this particular issue of land against the president and his government, and it is prudent upon them to act swiftly in dealing with this issue.
So finally, as we round off, of course, the president will speak at SONA as the beacon of the state and head of the state, but he is the head of a cabinet, which is our political leadership in terms of governance. As someone who studies leadership at large, what is your take on his tenure so far and the caliber of cabinet members that he's brought with him?
The president has actually came to office with a grand plan, or so-called grand plan. Yeah, there was hope in the country that there would be a new dawn, as he coined it himself. But we have not seen that new dawn. We have seen plans, we have seen some willingness to deal with some of the issues that affect communities, but not all of them, not broadly. And as a result, that talks to a leadership that is sometimes not decisive, a leadership that sometimes waits for too long to take decisions, which is worrisome when a country is in crisis or has challenges. The people that he has put around him, the people that he has appointed in his cabinet, some of them are deadwood, some of them are people that are not really performing. And I think that it is high time that the president should deal with those people, to ensure that he removes those that are not functioning, those that are not delivering, and put in the people that will be able to deliver, people that will help him realize his vision. You might have a grand vision as a leader. But if you have people around you who do not share that vision with you, who do not support you in realizing that vision, the chances of you realizing that vision are very low. And that's what we're seeing with the president. While trying very hard, in some instances, he seems to be the lonely voice in the executive that talks about trying to ensure that you address the challenges that South Africans are experiencing. And we want this as a collective to do that. And he needs to get people. He's got an opportunity now with the ANC coming from an elective conference where he has won, or his confidence must be high because most of his allies have made it. And it is now time for him to set a tone in the state of the nation by ensuring that he brings forth a team of people that would work with him, would assist him in realizing his dream. I think this is an opportune time for him to deal with that, and it might not be too late for him to turn around the situation for the better.
Professor Zwelinzima Ndevu there, Director of the School of Public Leadership. You and I and our Newzroom Afrika viewers will be watching that SONA address on Thursday very closely. Thank you for your time.